We're live. Welcome again to the realm of Ren 达人记. With well, we were talking about we're talking about something very special earlier. We were talking about the origin of Islam.
Yes.
What is the origin of Islam, man?
Well, origin, I think it's really, well, if we go by the traditional view, it's really ever since this world came into being, or ever since humanity came into being, like ever since Adam was born and Eve was, they were both born and they were actually banished from the heaven. That only then, no, I'm fine.
Okay.
That's only when they came to the world, and they had to live here. They couldn't go back to heaven because they were banished. They were forgiven, however, but um, what a strange thing. They were forgiven, like they committed a sin, and they had to live, and to live was to go by the religion of Islam, and that is to be to submit to God's will, really.
But do you think
And
some people would think like submitting sounds like you're giving sounds very like a
sound
tyranny, like a
yes, but
tyranny,
here's the thing.
especially
let
with
me let me I have actually been asked that question once before, by that Filipino coworker I had. um he said, well, he was an atheist. Well, he still lives. He is an atheist. He said, well, doesn't it mean you're letting go of your own happiness to you're sacrificing it for someone else? I was actually puzzled by this at a certain point. I was I used to think, well, yeah, why do we have to, you know, submit to something, submit to God? But then I came across this idea. There was this one person talking about it just randomly. So Muslims, they have like this one sect called uh, it's mostly in India and Pakistan. It's called in Urdu. It's called Tablighi Jamaat, which is the people who go out, like the missionaries.
Tabrihi,
Yeah,
Tabrihi,
tablighi. Yeah.
Tabrihi,
So tabligh means
Tabrihi.
is to to spread the message, and that only started in, like, right before Pakistan came into being. It started in India, in Deoband, uh, which um, uh, which is the home to the tabligh Jamaat. It's so they used to go out because they thought Muslims were becoming more and more distant from the religion. So they wanted to make everyone come back again,
Mhm.
because there were these ideas going on. We were under colonial rule with the British, and Hindus were like on top of their game. They knew what they were doing. Muslims, on the other hand, did not know, after like ruling for like so many hundred years over the whole of Indian subcontinent. So that's how it came to being Tablighi Jamaat. So they were passing by, and I was actually coming to university, and they um, were talking to this one particular person, like showing him all the ways of Islam, like on the street. And they one person there said, what better submission than to submit to the one you came from, the one who gave you life, right? It's tyranny only in our words, on in our words, like human words.
I think
It's
from a real
tyranny.
religious perspective, people understand that.
Yeah,
And
but people who are out of loop with
but
the
don't you
religion.
think during the current state of affairs, the connotation has been somewhat being being colored differently?
It's really not up to the people who are trying to understand it. They're not the ones doing it. It's the people who are actually following the religion, is why all of these misunderstandings
Like
have come into being.
like you're what do you mean by following?
The ones who say we are the custodians of this particular religion.
Kind of like the gatekeepers.
Yes, yes.
What about the
Nothing
gatekeepers?
nothing wrong about it.
Okay.
You can be, obviously. it's up to you to to study the religion and preach it. It's up to you, because I don't think, in essence, I don't think there is any religion that promotes hate. Remember the picture I sent you from
Yeah,
the multi faith thing?
yeah.
Like, there were so many religions, the ones that we did not even know about, the ones that have started to fade away, like Jainism, and the Indian Jainism was from India, like before
Okay.
Buddhism.
Okay.
So they have this more. Theirs is more of like a dervish kind of idea.
What is a dervish?
A dervish, heretics.
No,
The
no.
the Sufis.
Sufis.
They're not heretics.
What are what are what are Sufis to you?
To me, you see, I have a personal kind of tug of war with Sufis. Why? Because all, as we were talking about, custodians. So obviously religions have custodians. They say we are custodians of the religion. We're protecting the.
What makes
the
them
reli-
say that?
Exactly.
What makes them say that?
That's what my point is. Is it's not up to us to to protect the religion. It's up to the one that is running everything. Running the world. It's really not up to humans. Like in Islam, there's like we cannot tolerate insult to Prophet Muhammad. We do not tolerate it. Like,
What is an insult?
like
in
so,
their perspective?
kind of because Prophet Muhammad has had like a more of like a statesman kind of um, idea around him by the people, the perception. So people tend to look more on his the conquest and the battles he fought, rather than the spiritual message of his. And spiritual message is no different from Christianity or Judaism. Well, in Christianity they kind of went other way, but Judaism and Islam, it's really connected. Also, they're the like spitting enemies of each other.
Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think somebody who's so similar can become penned against each other?
Let me tell you the similarities, though. The similarities are just believing in one God and not taking anyone into account other than God in terms of submission or worshipping. So that is the biggest similarity. And Jews, they do recognize that, but they say Muhammad wasn't really a prophet, but rather just a man who who kind of wanted power. And he kind of just twisted the ideas, because Jews pray 3 times a day too. So they say why Muslims started praying 5 times was to outdo us.
So it's more of like an ego thing.
Yes, yes. But Muslims say that Jews did not accept Prophet Muhammad because he came from a different lineage from what their prophets came from, even though they came from the same lineage
So kind of
from
like a
Adam.
sense of speaking like an outsider. It sounds like a sense of elitism.
Yes, yes, yes. So they were like, they knew a prophet was to come. Like, they were told. Every religion was told up until Prophet Muhammad. After Prophet Muhammad, there hasn't been a time where someone said, "Yeah, there is someone to come after me." There hasn't been a time.
In
Even
the
Buddha,
West,
even Buddha said that. Well, Muhammad was not from the West.
I would still argue that Middle East, the whole Middle East culture is more so Western than Eastern. In
How?
essence. It's the Eastern half of the Western culture, but it's still the Western culture in general. It's the continuation of the Abrahamic and
Well, where did that come from, though? The Abrahamic, kind of religion. The
comes-
idea.
came from. Where do you think it came from?
It came from the Middle East.
Yeah,
It did.
yeah, but it's
It
different.
did not come from the West, though. So
It
it's
became
not.
the West. It became
Well,
the West.
the West kind of hijacked it.
Why would you say they hijacked it?
It's a really clear example. Can you imagine like a Caucasian man in the heart of a desert?
Sure, I can imagine
You
one.
can
right
imagine
now,
one,
yeah.
but by in in like the natural way. Like if someone's born in that climate, a child to everyone, like to the parents who have been living there, like a lady, his mother living there for like so many years, and her ancestors and their ancestors living there like for their whole kind of history. Can you imagine like Jesus? Can you really believe he was white? White in the in terms of like white, like blonde hair, and really fair skin tone.
Like, I don't think he was Nordic, if that's what he is.
Yeah, but that's what
Yeah.
the West portrays him
Like,
as. So that is how I say it's you know hijacked in a sense. I'm not gonna go into the religious kind of it's the religious ideas or the religious differences of Christianity or Judaism, because if I do, I don't think it's my place at the moment, because I might know like a gist of it, but I wouldn't claim to know more than that, because that's a long debate, a debate which is going on, and I don't think it's up to me. I don't think it's my place, sort of. I think
but why?
I
Can't
better
we
do
talk
something.
about it?
I better do something that brings people closer rather than divide them.
Do you think religion divides?
In current terms, yes, it does. It has.
What is the current term right now?
It's not religion that divides, actually. If we talk about religion, you personally believe religion from what people um, show you. Do you not? Like you see Jews and Christians and Muslims, you listen to them and you say, well, this is their religion.
Well, I would approach it in a more objective. I would talk to the
Yes.
people and also read the text and interpret it in my own background understanding, and then trying to find connections between similar other scriptures from different parts of the world.
Then what do you think of all the religion kind of
I
do
really
you think they're like
it's-
different religions, or is just one religion but different? Like I was telling you earlier, is it? I say Muslim, Christians, and Jews were like all part of the same game, but playing by different rules.
I think religions is more so it's like different ways to find your path to spirituality.
But then it comes around the Muslim idea, which is that Prophet Muhammad is the seal of the prophets. But then there have been claims after him. They did not say we were prophets. They really did not, but they did kind of these philosophical ideas became religions, like Sikhism. They came around like I think 1500s, 15. I think Akbar was around at the time, and Baba Guru Nanak, he's there. They were really all that activity was happening in Pakistan, what Pakistan is right now, in that part of India. So that was an idea of sharing and giving love, and protecting the weak, the poor, because the rulers at the time were very tyrant like and all that. And then it became a religion somehow. It became a religion. And I so see, that is why I say when Prophet Muhammad is the seal of the prophets, these people did not claim um, like the prophetic kind of approaches that these prophets did, like Prophet Muhammad, Jesus, David, Moses, Solomon, Abraham, Ishmael, Jacob, Joseph, all of these um, like there were Seth. Seth was a prophet too. Adam, Seth, Noah, all these guys. Muslims believe they were all Muslims.
Okay.
Muslim, you know what Muslim means, right? It means the one who submits. The one who submits to the will of God.
What is the will of God to you then?
Will of God to me personally is to live a life that doesn't harm other lives around you.
So that's the Buddhistic idea I was telling you earlier, right? Is to
But
not.
I might be rebuked by for saying this by
so?
fellow Muslims. because I'm giving more of like a secular kind of idea in terms of well, if you like it, you can accept Islam. If you don't like it, don't do it.
It should be more easy, right? Why do
That
you
is
think
more
that
easy.
idea?
Yes, that is more
Then
easy.
are you suggesting that people are forcing people to do things?
People are not forcing people to do these things. They don't have the power to anymore.
They used to.
They used to.
Kind of like during the historical conquest between different religious civilizations.
Here's the thing. These political ideas were legitimized through religion. The Crusades, they were for the love of God. God does not say go kill. Jesus did not say that. In Islam, Allah says do not kill the innocent, be it from another religion. Allah doesn't really say another religion. Allah says people who do not agree with you in the Quran. I don't think there's ever a mention in the Quran of another religion. They do say people who are worshipping false idols. And Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, they ought to be these religions that were supposed to abolish, idols. And we did abolish idols in terms of, statues and stuff in the Middle East and all, that part of the world. We couldn't get to India, obviously. But we did abolish the physical statues, but we could not really abolish these idols.
What are idols to you?
To me, idols is greed. Really, like the biggest idol is greed. Like being enslaved to your own greed, which we do. People do. Like it's human nature to bring these wishful thinking kind of ideas and then just going upon on them, and that's when religion comes in to legitimize it. People use it for their own ways, and then come along people that say, well, these religions are there to divide and create suffering in the world. Like that is kind of like the broad idea. Like,
so idols create sufferings.
Idols do,
because it's kind of like
they make a division in terms of like a class system. Like if you're gonna give God these if you're gonna give God like different what do you say, God's names, you're gonna give them different bodies, then you're actually gonna go away from what God actually is.
Okay, so you think the conceptual idea of God needs to be redefined?
You see, in Islam and in all these religions, not Christianity, they have actually visualized what God is.
But they try to redefine God. God, the term can even be heroes or mythical figures.
Yes,
yes.
That's the case with Hinduism. That's the case with Hindu. I don't think there's the need to talk about Greek mythology or the Norse mythology, because we have like a contemporary example of Hinduism.
What is a contemporary example of Hinduism?
It is anything that is great can be obviously people are gonna disagree with me, but I have seen this through interaction, and it really is. They could even call a human God, and to me that is like a very kind of like a flawed idea, because I could do good things. I could achieve many good things, and I could, ease suffering for many people. That does not make me God. But in Hinduism, they say if you do something, great, you kind of, you're just doing something divine.
But I think the Hindus will argue and say that it's because the power and the greatness of God is manifested through the mortal, or through the avatar in that sense,
that does not really. I know you have the idea of us being an extension of God, obviously, of the source. I do believe in it in certain kind of characteristics in terms of justice. Let's not go to Justinian, but justice. Um, like doing like distinguishing between right and wrong. I do see that as divine. Like that's like a godlike ability us humans have. But I think that's it. What else is there than distinguishing what's right or wrong? At the end of the day, it does come back to what's right and wrong.
But what's right and wrong might be different for everybody.
But that is true. We in philosophy 275 intro to ethics. Have you taken it?
I'm not sure. Let's check.
Okay, it's with Thomas Herka, the professor. I think he retired this after last semester. Um, we were talking about the very first reading that we did. It was about King King Darius, I think, and he had
The Persian dude?
the Persians
Okay.
after Cyrus the Great.
Yeah.
So they had this vast empire, right, stretched to India to Greece, right, a really big empire, and they had these Greek thinkers. I think they used to um, burn their dead, right? Like that was like a common practice at the time, right? But there was an Indian tribe that used to eat their dead, I think. And when Darius introduced these I'm not gonna call them Hindus, Indian tribe to to the Greeks, Greeks were like this is insanity. This is barbaric kind of practices. You are eating your own flesh and blood. And then when the Indian tribe saw the Greeks burning their dead, they were like, you're disrespecting your dead. You're destroying them. So that is the different kind of understanding of right and wrong in a contemporary sense. How a woman should be treated. Yeah, we Muslims think a woman has the freedom to order a man around and demand that a man fulfill these wishes of hers. That is why, women do not really have to do anything in a Muslim kind of household. But in a Western household, people might think that is limiting. You are limiting these women. We're actually not limiting or oppressing them. They have the freedom to do whatever they want to do in the essence of Islam. Like in its essence, Islam allows that because your acts are between you and the one who created you. It's really not anyone else's business. When the oppression kind of thing comes into play, that is more of a cultural thing. I think. So right and wrong, the Western values are that women should be liberated in terms of clothes and whatever they do, like job and money and all that. Muslims think women should be respected like queens, and they should be held in high regard. That is why they don't let anyone else from outside see their women.
I
So
spoke about that with Muhammad the other day. You
yeah,
know,
what did he say?
no, but we talked about that just after the podcast. But also on several occasions, I always talk about that. I feel that's
Mm.
very interesting. It's like, is it why do other than the cultural reasons behind these,
Oppression?
I would say dressing,
Oh,
like
dress code. Okay, okay.
outfit.
Mm.
Is it a dress code really though? Is it more so like a fashion and cultural? It's just what's been
It
done.
did come from culture,
Uh huh.
but there are conflicting views on this. So one view is that women should cover their face, and that is like a really hardliner view. I have some people who follow that kind of view, and then there is another view which says no, all they need to do is cover their body. Like I personally would like to cover my whole body even as a man. And Islam says to not, just, show your body.
Why is that the case?
Well, because that is, it brings like dirty thoughts. And because that's human nature. If you're gonna see someone from the opposite, sex, you are gonna be attracted to them through their body. That's human nature, which is true.
But is it right to assume the worst of everybody though?
The words of
Don't you feel like you're assuming the worst of people by saying that just because they see your body, they're gonna be immediately sexually aroused and have dirty thoughts?
no, that's there is that idea that Imran Khan,
Mm.
he got into trouble because of saying this.
Oh yeah.
He got in trouble because of saying this. He said, "Well, when there are uh, if women are gonna wear those short skirts and stuff, it's in a man's nature to kind of think about it. He might not do anything, but he might think about it.
Like the thought will come up.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you think it's best to just not have these thoughts at all?
exactly.
Okay.
Which is true. It's best to not have these thoughts at all. Why? Because then your thoughts come into, you can write about them. Then comes along someone who can film them. And then comes along someone who watches them and goes out to do it. That is what
Then
Imran
what's your
Khan
perspective on porn?
of porn. Oh,
What is porn to you? What's your porn?
self-destruction.
Destruction of what?
Time.
Just time?
To me, yes. Why?
How about
Because
society?
I could destroying society. You listen. Here's the thing. I did talk to one female friend of mine. She's Muslim, and in Muslim, households, we don't really talk about, the idea of sex.
Sexuality is not discussed.
No, no, it is not.
But is it an elephant in the room?
It is.
Should you discuss about it?
I think we should.
Healthily.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
but we don't. In a Muslim, not a Muslim. In India and Pakistan, we don't. I'm not gonna say Muslim. In India and Pakistan, we don't. Be it Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, we don't. We just don't do it. Parsis too, because it's just like the culture. It's like something dirty. Don't talk about it. What that does is, children turn to porn to understand what the thing is, and they feel like they need to know when they're like by the age of 13, 12, 14. They need to know. We have been there. We know. I know friends. So when they turn to porn, they have these unrealistic expectations in there that are not natural. They're not. And then people think, oh, that might be the truth, like that, what should be going on. Uh, and they end up doing, stupid things. And that is why Imran Khan, he came into kind of thing. He goes like, when Hollywood movies are gonna come to Pakistan, this country which is very really conservative, and young children are gonna watch it. They're gonna go on to do things like sex before marriage and all sorts of things. So I talked to this Muslim lady. She's a friend. She's in England now, by the way. She's doing a semester there. So she said, and we were surprised by the how she said it. She said that it should be allowed at the time in India and Pakistan. Why? Because men might have a view of it, because men do talk about it with each other. Women really do not get to talk about how sex, is performed, or how things are in a person's body, and which is true. They don't. Me being a man, I'm already 20. I'm gonna be 21 really soon. In my family, no one has ever talked to me about that.
Would you like it if they talked to you about it healthily and gave you a right impression, guided you to do the
Yes,
right things?
guidance. It would have been better.
But then it's very tricky to find the right metrics for the right guidance. You know, like guidance could be a word that could be politically abused. You know, like what is guidance?
What is guidance? Oh, that is that again depends on different people, different point of views. What's guidance for Darren and or what's guidance for Daud? For Daud, guidance is anything that leads me to help people. For you, yours is this cultural kind of like that's the end goal of your life, and mine is to help people. So whatever my guidance is different from your guidance.
Hmm.
So to me, guidance is that if guidance cannot be given by someone, you have to find it. Yes, there are instruments, resources out there. Your parents, in terms of sexual kind of behavior, your parents, obviously, who knows better than them in your life? You came from them, like they know it, and obviously, it would have been better if they did tell. But I think I'm past that age already, and we have already studied it literally at school too. So there's that. So for in terms of porn, I think I did understand what she was trying to say. The female friend I have that
Is that the sentiment of the
of everyone.
of Muslim women?
No, most of Muslim women, they're far better than men. Muslim men.
More open minded in essence?
No, more conservative in a sense to protect themselves.
Okay. It's like, but with this idea of protection is this also this perceived idea of danger. Where does the danger come from?
Danger comes from in that setting, in Pakistani setting, the danger does come from people. Imagine this. If we're talking about porn, I know I have friends in Pakistan, or they were my friends. They're not my friends anymore, though I haven't talked to them in a long time. But I have heard them saying, "Well, I have watched this, and now imagine that girl over there if I was doing the same thing with her."
They're childish ideas.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that they don't, become operationalized. They do.
They become focused on these things.
Yeah, and they do, and they do the deed, obviously. Even if the girl is unwilling or willing, they do it regardless. I know of this. I've seen it happening. I've
So
stopped it
sexual
from happening.
abuse is much more common in other places in the West
Yes,
than
it
in
is. Why?
America.
Because in the West, there is no awareness about. In the East, there is no awareness about this. Even in countries like China, Korea, Japan, there really isn't. We might think there is, but there really isn't.
Depends on cities. Big city,
Depends on the city.
big
Depends on
metropolises are
families,
much
actually.
more
Depends on families.
okay.
Families in themselves are like countries.
Yeah, yeah, right. That's what the idea the country the name idea of a country.
A kingdom.
Yeah,
A kingdom, really,
in
not a
Chinese
country.
is called a 国家.
Uh huh.
It means the country's family. Country's family.
See, that is how. When we were talking about the project, where the lifelong, kind of thing. It is for me. I don't know for you though. It is for me. Um, for me, these people are like my children. Be it someone who's like 70 years
But
old.
nobody wants to be a children. Even children don't want to be a
Children,
children.
not in a literal sense.
Like not in the idea of like being needy, a needy kid.
You see, here's
They
the
might
thing.
be needy.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Not in a literal sense. Why? Because remember how we met. You were talking. You were saying God and Allah is different.
Yeah, I did.
And I said
The
you
concept. The
took
concept.
Allah as a literal, name, like a literal thing, but it was just like in a different language, the same thing as
No,
God.
I mean the. Let
The
me explain
concept.
myself right here. The concept of Allah and the concept of God is
Mm.
being used differently in different civilizations throughout history and in different societies, in which then different connotations can be
Then,
given differently.
then I have a question. How is it different in the West and the East? In Muslim countries, not the East as entirely, but West and the Muslim countries.
Just from a daily life, we can do it down from the macro, down to the micro. Throughout society, the idea of God is mostly, although both spiritually is used very similarly. I'm just
Mm.
saying in the common understanding of everyday life people. The idea of God and Allah has that has that native and foreign tone to both, to most more so the people in the West, in Canada, maybe more so in America,
Mm.
you know. But the translation, like even in Chinese, God is translated as 上帝, means
Mm.
the emperor above, and Allah is
The
just
sky,
Allah.
the sky
It's
emperor.
just the phonetic translation. So it has a completely different meaning to
Mm-hmm.
Chinese people.
Well, it's Allah is. We say Allahu Akbar. That means God is great. When someone says Allahu Akbar, some people might think, oh, they're gonna bomb the place.
Yeah, I
Like
recently
really.
just really learned this that um Abraham
Abrahamic religions,
Abrahamic religions and Arabic,
Arabic,
Aramic,
Aramaic,
Aramic,
Aramaic, yes.
Aramic,
Mm-hmm.
Aramic,
Mm.
Ar
Aramaic,
Aramaic,
yes.
Aramaic, and Hebrew are actually all Semitic languages coming from the same root.
Yes.
And when Jesus said God, he actually was talking about Allah.
Allah, yes.
Allah.
Yeah.
That's how he would talk about it.
Jesus did not say God.
God is
He did say
God
Allah.
is God is English.
No, Jesus did say Allah though.
Yeah, there
Because
wasn't
he
English
spoke
back then.
Aramaic, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
did say Allah.
That's his native tongue.
Yes.
Hmm.
So it only became God in from England. Yeah, God from
Yeah,
England.
maybe because I say Deus.
So
We gotta
so
go back
so
to Roman times.
yeah, exactly. So it really, it's not that when you say things, you are talking about how people take it differently. But I say in essence that's not the case. I talk about what ought to be the reality, not what is right now, but what ought to be the reality.
But what is ought to be? There shouldn't be a definite
What is
sense on
what
that.
is reality is division right now. Is division. What ought to be is coming together. Everyone. I think it is high time that we do, start thinking about it. Not in a financial sense, because that has happened for a long time. I think it should come back to like we have reached the point where we should be thinking about let's not divide ideas but make them come together and bring something out of it, something really beautiful and something that has never happened before.
What type of ideas are you thinking about?
Ideas that, down that street, someone's not just standing there waving their hand for some like $1, $2. Those ideas. America is great, Canada is great, the West is great, but you do find people suffering on the streets. And the people on top, the powerful people, believe it or not, they do not care.
Why don't they care?
Because there is finance involved, there's money involved in it. They know they're not gonna have what they do at the moment if they go by what I'm saying.
How's that the
And
case?
it's not just me saying, it's everyone saying it, many people saying it. It's just that it has become so common that people think it's irrelevant, it's not going to happen. Like my coworker, he still thinks America is the greatest power out there. But things are changing. Chinese are taking over. China. China as the country, not the East. China is taking over.
Um, what
East
makes you
is
say that?
what makes me say that is
Yeah.
China has not, um, you know, kind of tried to connect with other, cultures, with other countries around them in terms of culturally. They have connected really well financially, and I think that's the main, problem in every kind of change taking place in the world. It's taking place through finances, economy, and economic means, like material things. It's not taking place through the what ought to be the universal truth, right? Universal truth to me is like no suffering for people, and um, there is this one God. Well, I'm gonna sound really Christian right now. One God who loves you.
But what is
God
suffering to
does love you
people?
though.
Sometimes you need to suffer something
You do need to
to
suffer,
learn a
but
lot
that
of
does not
things.
mean you need to suffer some for like someone like down there on the
Yes.
street. That is man-made suffering. I have been suffering for the past like 2-3 weeks. I have been like I wanted to change my program. I am going to change it obviously, but I wanted to and I was thinking about it, and there were some other things happening. I was suffering. I was struggling. That's a good struggle. Why? Because that's gonna make me think things, and I'm gonna come up with solutions. That's individual suffering. What is down there, people on the street, that's not individual suffering, that's suffering caused by the system that we are a part of. I was told at U of T like last week, no, week before last week in a tutorial, and he said it in a way that really kind of went really deep inside everyone. And he said, "You guys are at U of T, the best university in Canada in terms of ranking and all that scholarship. So you guys are part of the elite. We might be different in terms of finances, like person to person at U of T, but whoever has made it there, he is or she is elite in some sense. So it's, for us to, kind of bring forward these ideas that the people who are, on the street suffering, they do become the elite too. What, like, make everyone elite. Like, why does there have to be like classes? Elite is only God, ought to be. God, in a sense, the one who created us, the source entity. You remember from the book? The elite is like, elite ought to be God. That's it. Humans should not have that kind of, those kind of ideas. We should be, like, I should be equal to you, and you should be, vice versa. That should be the case. And Islam's Prophet Muhammad did say that. He advocated equality, like financially, in terms of ethnicity. Like in the Quran, Allah said, "We only made you in tribes so that you guys can recognize each other." Like that's why we made you in tribes, like different. Like I'm from Pakistan. Like, what is Pakistan? But 75 years of what? Chaos in that part of India. But
Is
yeah,
Pakistan part of India?
well, it is. It's part of this world. Yes,
Part of part of Earth, part of humanity.
part of humanity. I am. You see, when I say nationalistic ideas should be abolished, I mean it. I really mean, we are only different due to the environment that we grew up in and the atmosphere of the climate around us. You have this face, this Chinese face, is because you're a part of the environment. You are made so that you can survive in that environment, in that climate. I have, these hair on my body. I'm really different from you. like my facial features. Why? Because I was made so that I could survive in the climate I was living in. That is the only difference. That doesn't mean I just become like a different, class of people from what China is, from Chinese. Language is different. Why? Because of course, different climate, different, ways of under. We made different kind of ways to live. We eat different things, but that really shouldn't divide us. What that should do is make us understand our common struggle. Because what we really, every culture, every community, what it really does is really struggle on their own to be better. But being better has, ever since these conquests and all that things started, being better has become like being better than them, like being better than America, being better than the rest of the world, China being better than the rest of the world, Pakistan being better than India and the rest of the world, and Arabs being better than the non-Arabs, non-Arabs being better
It's like
than the Arabs. Yes,
dividing the same people.
in essence, we were not supposed to be divided. We come from the same person, Adam, Adam and Eve. We do, and then Noah. We do come from them. There is no denying that. Origin stories might be different, but they do say that ancient apocalypse, the documentary,
Yeah.
all the origin stories from them, they're the same, literally the same, just told differently. And people think, well, that is a different, like Hinduism, like, oh no, that's a different person, different name, different person. Well, he has the same characteristics, same abilities.
It's like some Greek mythology guy.
Exact. So we have just divided, like just how we have divided God, we have divided His people, us, each other, just on the basis of speaking, basis of eating, the way we look, our height, even what we wear. Like the current system does, in a sense, work in a way that what I'm wearing is what defines me as a person. If I'm wearing this and someone who cannot afford this in a normal sense, like in the political framework of classes that we have right now, I might think in the natural way that this person is lesser than me. That should not be the case. So this only started like from ever since humanity actually started. Like Adam and Eve, they had two sons, Habil and Kabil. They were in Arabic, and one killed the other because in Muslim kind of tradition, it's like because he wanted to marry the one that was going to marry the other, the lady. So he killed his brother, obviously. In in Christian terms or Jewish terms, it's different. It's like based on land and all that stuff, but it really does portray the same idea. There was division because of envy, because of greed, and being jealous, and that's what we have been doing. And like in Islam, there is this that whenever someone kills, like the first ever killing, a murder, was when they did it. Adam's two sons, like one killed the other. And in Islam, it's like if I commit murder, I'm gonna be punished, but the one who committed the first murder, he's gonna be punished too. Because he gave the idea.
So the idea is very.
Yeah.
It's where it all began.
The idea is to be blamed. Every bad kind of the colonial idea is to be blamed. Slavery, people who kind of uh, got the reins over slavery are to be blamed. Slavery wasn't really owning someone. Slavery was actually hosting this person in your family, and they are helping you in doing your everyday business. That is in Islam that ought to be slavery.
But slavery got changed.
It got changed. It became like you're owning this man. A man cannot own another man, or a woman? People think so. In Islam, they do say, like Muslim men own their women, they're their property. No, they have their own life. God gave them their life. We did not give them their life. It's not in our right to control them.
So it's because we're in a patriotic society.
Yeah, it's our culture that has
Distribution of power.
culture is different from religion. I keep telling that to even my mom. She has a bit of she and mostly every Pakistani does have this Hindu kind of class system in them. And that does not just go from like one class to another. If I was a Hindu, I would be the warrior class, like Kshatriya, I think they're called. I'm a Rajput, and we were the warrior class, the people who used to fight, rule, conquer, and all that. So in even if we have turned Muslim, we do have that kind of thing, and it does not go to class anymore. It does in a sense, but it has become more of like what is the role of women, what's the role of men. It has become to that. I think everyone should have free choice in trying to um, live on their life. Really, we shouldn't be dictated. And I do tell my household, my people around me, that it's not. And they say, "Oh no, this is our religion. Religion says that." Religion does not say that. It's the flawed culture you have been following that says that.
What does religion say?
Religion says be equal to everyone's equal in front of Allah, in front of God. Everyone's equal. You're only better if you have done a better deed than the other one. In front of Allah, not even in front of humans. If I have done something really great and the other person hasn't done it, you're in no place to judge either of us.
Only God can judge.
Only God can judge. So if I have done something good in this world, no one can judge me in this world. Or if I've done something bad to myself, not to others. If I've like committed murder, then obviously there is this universal kind of divine justice, divine law, which says eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. You might not agree with it. Many people don't. But I think if you have taken away someone else's freedom, yours should be taken too. Because you have actually surrendered your freedom by taking someone else's. You have gone against the essence, the idea of it, which is that you should let live and live yourself. You have obviously killed someone, taken away their rights. Then what do you think? You're the same human as them. So if that human's rights can be taken away, yours can be too. That is my kind of verdict on capital punishment in a nutshell.
But by who? Taken away by who?
By divine law. Divine law is if you have hurt someone, it's not that you ought to be hurt, you should kind of make amends. And what is the biggest amend? Like if I did kill some innocent man, innocent person, I would literally surrender my life. And I think my parents would tell me the same thing. Like in an accident, if I have killed someone, and if they're not going to forgive me, their family, then obviously we need to understand that. Humans need to understand responsibility in that sense. If we have understood responsibility towards others, like in Islam, we have this thing, how we greet each other. It's like Assalamu alaikum, which is like peace be upon you. And it is a right of the other Muslim. If a Muslim is coming, it's his right to expect that I am going to say that peace be upon him. Then it's my right to think that he's going to say the same to me. It's one of the rights between Muslims, peace be upon you. What's better way to make someone understand that? So if it comes to that nuanced kind of peace be upon you phrase, then what makes you think that if you have killed someone, what makes you think that it's not going to come back to you? It should. Why? Because you have kind of agreed to it, that a life can be taken away. You personally have. You did not kind of agreed to it in a universal or collective way, but you did in a personal, individual choice. You did say, yeah, that person can be killed. Then what different are you from that person?
Like, how would you say this to somebody who have committed murder, or
Who have committed
who is
murder?
about to commit
We
murder?
need we need people to realize their responsibility. And this life is not just about fun and all. For me, it is not. People have, most of my friends have this idea that get married, have children, enjoy life, and that's it, and then die by the age of 60, 70, 80, whatever. I don't think so. I think for me, life should be, by the time I die, I should leave this world better, not just for my family or my children, but for the whole of humanity. Like, leave this world with an idea, by giving this world even an idea which might be better for the succeeding generations. If there are, that is.
What idea are you trying to give?
Idea of love, actually. Be equal, be together, don't be divided and separated.
How would you respond to a skeptic who say this is very idealistic?
I have heard this so many times. A friend, so many people have told me, "Well, you're really idealistic. It's um, it's not really, you know, what do you say? It cannot be operationalized." I think it can be. I believe in the philosophy that if there is an idea, then we can find a way to make it happen. The US did not just come into being just like this. There was an idea first. They struggled for it for years, and then they gained independence, and then they became the thing that they are right now. A country which is, it's so stupid. What were they doing? They were fighting for freedom, right? They were fighting for rights from British Empire. What did they end up doing? Taking away rights from other people. That's human nature, not in a sense that we are just going to do it. We have the power to control that. It's human nature in a sense of what these what the world has become through these corrupt people. Corrupt, when I say corrupt, corrupt doesn't just mean in terms of money or wealth. Corrupt means ethically, morally corrupt. Literally, because that's where everything starts going, rotten bad. We have to get to the core so that if I am going to have sons or daughters, these ideas that I'm talking about, it is in my power to raise them with these ideas so that they can talk about it, then their children can talk about it, then their children, and then the community just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
That's how Confucius did.
That is change. It's not idealistic. This change is not idealistic. It's gonna take time. Obviously, it's gonna take time. Um, all these religions or ideas, they were idealistic at some point. But as the communities started growing, they started getting the message. They became realities. So when someone does tell me it's idealistic, I don't try to defend my position. I just say, what I'm saying, is it not right? Like, is it not going to stop people from suffering? Well, yes, it is. Well, then why be a skeptic about it? How is it not how can it not be operationalized? Like, give me a reason. How? And then there is no answer to that. Well, there is one which is like, oh, well, the current system wouldn't allow you to do that. I don't care. I'm gonna fight. I said I don't want things to change in my life. Change in a sense, this radical change. I want things to change over generations. That is a healthy change. That is a change that is gonna stay for long. It's just not going to be then my idea. It's going to be the ideas of every person on this world. So, you know, you could say Muammar Gaddafi. Do you know him, Colonel Gaddafi?
Yeah.
The Libyan leader, revolutionary. He took it upon himself to. He did good things. He did good things. Obviously, by Western values, okay, things. We were there to liberate the Libyan people, really, by destroying their water systems and destroying their lives, their free healthcare, free education. By destroying that, you gave them liberty, freedom. Like that is what happened literally. He took it upon himself to change this country. He should not have done that. What he should have done is change slowly but steadily so that the succeeding generations or even the generation after that might be able to achieve this pinnacle of the revolution he wanted. In essence, his ideas weren't wrong. What he wanted was best for his country. It might not be the best for the rest of the world, the rest of, not even the world, the US, the West. They are far dirty than we think.
How so?
How so? Listen, me, a Pakistani, talking about these things. Where am I gonna say these things? The first thing, who is gonna be my audience as a Pakistani?
Pakistanis.
Pakistanis. If I'm telling them these things, Pakistan is what? Sort of like a client state to the U.S.
What
Our
makes you say that?
our prime minister, like the most popular in Pakistan's history, and I'm seeing this like with my eyes. I could not see Quaid-e-Azam who made Pakistan. I couldn't see Allama Iqbal. I couldn't see all those leaders that have died. But I am watching Imran Khan. Like I'm watching him do things. Obviously, he might have many political downsides, but what he wants is best for the people of Pakistan.
How do you know that?
But what's best for the people? Because I'm a person of Pakistan.
Okay.
I'm a Pakistani. That's how I know it.
Okay.
I know what he talks about is good for me as a Pakistani. Good for me as a human? That's up to me to decide.
What does he talk about?
He talks about equality, rule of law, and everyone being equal in front of it. The elite being equal in front of it. People, normal people, commoners, are already equal in front of the law. That is, if you have a bit more money, then obviously, then you're not. You're higher than the law. What he says is be equal in front of the law, which is the Muslim idea. And even when the Qin dynasty started to transform under the the guy, the Duke Shao, I think was his name. He started to like when Shanyang was around. Do you know Shanyang? Like he did these reforms.
Oh, I'll love to. I'll need to see the Chinese characters.
I think his name was Wei Shang, Shang Wei or Wei Shang, something of that sort. He transformed the Qin Empire that then kind of
Oh, Shangyang.
yeah,
Shangyang.
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 He What they did was equality in front of the law.
But that was
No one's
also.
no one's spared, even if it's the king committing something. And he did. The king at the time, the Duke Shao, he did actually then punish his son. His son killed people working on his land because they they were kind of actually framed, but they kind of failed to deliver the best crop. So he killed them. What did the king do? Because it was against the law, the king banished him. And he couldn't come back until the king died. And then he came back and became the king again, the duke.
But then one would argue, like, maybe back then that was the best thing it could do.
It is the best. Listen, what's best for the people is the best thing to do.
But thinking of it right now, imagine like the president's son kills somebody, just
He
gets
should be
banished,
killed.
and then come back and become the president.
No, he should be killed.
He should be killed, as in.
In current terms. Unless he does go back and he how that king, Duke Shah's son, he repented, he understood the country, he understood the laws, he came back, and he was more powerful than his father. He was better than his father in managing people. If that is the case, then sure. If that's not the case, if you have killed someone, you should be killed.
Killed by who?
Killed by the law. Killed. Killed as in, that's a very brutal idea. Because then it comes back to bite me, which is you're taking someone else's freedom away. But the reason, the explanation is because they have taken someone else's freedom away. So then it's not up to me. I'm not doing it. The law is doing it. And the law is good for the people. I'm not talking about the Canadian law or the American law at the time or any country's law at the time, at this moment. I'm talking about the universal law, which is, equality for everyone, good fortune to everyone, equal opportunities to everyone. If we go by that, we destroy these ideas of male supremacy, ideas of feminism, ideas of all these other kind of rights. Why? Because everyone then becomes equal in front of the law.
So the law is not equal right now.
It is not. Obviously, it's not. That's why you have a lot of the mess going on. It is a mess, and ever since we became nation states, that is. So, equality in front of the law, and I don't think there is anything better than that to unite people. Because I'm relatively richer than people. My mom tells me this. And that is why I think us siblings, we have never gone down the path of being greedy or envious or proud. I can say that for sure. Like, I don't care in what car I'm traveling or who I'm talking to, where I'm sitting. I'd sit on the road if I have to. It doesn't matter. I'd sleep on you know, on the ground too. It doesn't matter. She said, never look up, always look down. And when you know how people are, suffering, who are not on the same kind of the current system's the hierarchy, and they're beneath you in this hierarchy, then you'll know and you'll understand the meaning of whatever you have, whatever comfort you have. So as long as I have my fill of food and the clothes to wear and something to cover me up, something to keep me warm, I don't need anything else. In essence, we shouldn't. But we do. Why? Because we are greedy. And in that process, we take things from others too. When we are taking more than needed for living, what we're doing is we're taking what could be given to these poor people. We're taking their opportunities away too, in a sense. Not directly, indirectly, yes. The wealth that you have, they could have had it, but why do they not have it? Because you monopolize on it. You found this hegemony on it, and you have it now. You're not giving it away. It's your possession. That is like the capitalistic idea.
Is that the original capitalistic idea?
The current. We're talking about the current system. We're not going
So you think
about the essence.
capitalism needs to be reformed at least?
No. We should abolish these ideas. Every single one of them. Communism, socialism, capitalism, everything. You said it, sir. You told me, don't care about these ideas. You literally said it. Don't care about these ideas. And which it is true. Because I don't think there's, if it's philosophy, then obviously a murderer has rights too. Like, this is, someone tried to persuade me in this, a very good philosophical idea, really good, strong argument, which is all humans have rights. Yes, they do. Murderers are humans. Yes, they are. Therefore, murderers have rights. Not if they have taken someone else's away, because they denied this argument then. Then they say, well, I've killed that person because he did not have rights. What makes you say that? Or I have taken that person's wealth away, or his opportunities or her opportunities away because, I could do it, so I did it. So then what makes you think it wouldn't happen to you?
But what about the situation of, because like there are circumstances which killing does occur, and not every circumstance are premeditated, and not even everyone might even have bad intentions or any form of intentions. There's so many possibilities of things just happening, and to say that they don't, once these things occur.
Intentions. Let's get to intentions.
Sure.
In what good intention can you really believe that, rights being taken away? And I'm not talking about these rights. So what are you gonna call me if I'm a he or a she or an it? I don't think those are the things we should be worried about. Politicians nowadays, they have done a really great job. This Justin Trudeau, he has done a really, really great job to divert people away from the panhandler on Bay Street to being an alumni hall. Let's talk politics. We're talking about politics, and what are we talking about? What do you call a person? That's what future politicians are talking about. That is the issue. Let's not talk about the economy. Let's not talk about how people are suffering. Let's not talk about how housing prices are going up and all that. How are we going to solve it? No. Let's talk about what would I call Darren. If I just look at him, he looks like a man, but what do I call him? That is what politicians have done right now.
Why do you think they're doing that?
Because they want to stay in power. Make irrelevant things relevant.
So they're manipulating it.
Manipulating, yes. These ideas are not to be disgusted as long as we haven't achieved universal kind of comfort. We haven't achieved that. No one has ever achieved that.
Have we achieved that financially?
We have not. How have we? The current system, it did come for the greater good. Many people did become really rich. Like really, equality did came. Imperialism just went down. It did. What it also did was make these different classes of people. It was the same imperialistic idea. It is. It is still. We did not abolish imperialism. We did not.
What do you mean by that?
What we did was we just changed the name or the way we call it. We changed the language in which we talk about it. The ideas are still the same. We just replaced one kind of system which is causing suffering to people with another which is doing the same thing. We are making people suffer. We are. Why did the US attack Iraq or Libya or Afghanistan? Why did they do it? Or Vietnam? Why did they do it? Why did they attack North Korea, like that war? Why did they do it? Why did they attack the Philippines? Why did they do it? Why did they attack all of these countries around the world? Why did they do it? Why are they interfering in other countries? Because they think their interests should be protected. Man, how is your interest not protected by indigenous Afghanis making their own decisions? How are your rights being taken away if they're like thousands of miles away making their own decisions about the land they do agriculture on? Like, it cannot be understood. Like, how? What are they going to do to you? They don't have the technological power. They don't have the finances to do anything. You don't have the evidence that they caused anything to you. Then why do you do it? Well, they're sitting on these resources, really, fortunes, like minerals, gases, everything, and we as the US, as the West, we want it. Why do we want it? Well, it looks good. It's going to bring us comfort. Well, what about their comfort? You already have your comfort in a relative sense, in a really achieved relative sense. They don't have it yet. So why are you going to take theirs away? I have talked to many people here, and I said, do you really think that if a country is going through a process, even be it civil war, I don't think others should be allowed in this. I don't believe in this kind of nationalistic idea of countries of this world, but it is there. We're living in it, obviously. I was born what? A Pakistani. We're living in it. I asked these different, I wouldn't call them friends, fellow classmates. I said, is it right for the West to interfere in Afghanistan? Well, yes, it is. I'm like, why? Well, we know what is right and wrong. Well, do they not know that? They do know it. That's why they're fighting. One side is right and the other is wrong. Obviously, they might have their own right and wrong. But in essence, let the best man win, and they're going to decide what's best for their country. It's only the top brass that's, doing this tug of war. The normal people are just suffering. So the US goes in, all these Western countries go in, they attack these poor countries when they were going through this natural thought process in order to understand what's best for them. That's how every country came into what it is now. The US, did they not fight in the beginning? Let's talk about the Civil War. Let's talk about Europe. How is Europe so united right now? They were fighting 100 years back. They were. They literally were. Arabs. They became, this universe, this sense of Arab idea. How did they come into being? They were going through this process, and then this idea of Islam came. God, provided them, inside, and then they all became these brothers. We Muslims call each other brothers. Like we are brothers, and so these poor countries going through thought process. Pakistan was going through one. It's always disrupted. It's always they're going through something good, and these people come around and they're like, we're taking it away. We're making decisions for you. A white man making decisions for a Pakistani man. He has no idea about what life in Pakistan is. He knows what steak to eat in the US, so he thinks the Pakistanis should eat the same steak. Man, they don't like the cut you like. Literally, like they don't like the cut you like. They don't like salt and pepper. They like more different things. I'm not saying salt and pepper is bad. I like it. It's my choice what I want to choose. It's not Freshco people coming in and say, hey, you're gonna eat this. You're not gonna eat Food Basic or Loblaws or anything of that sort. So then these the thought process, was the one that was like it has been disrupted throughout. Like people have been doing that. Well, so that is like my political view is that we have what the West has done, the dominant power, and that's not even the West. Australia is a part of it. That's not in the West. What they have done is, Japan is a part of it. Korea is a part of it. New Zealand is a part of it. What they have actually done is disrupted peaceful. They were fighting too. They were having these natural ideas for a better life for them. If we are going by this natural, this existing system, then they should have allowed these other countries to do the same. Let them fight, man. Why do you care? Well, the best man's gonna win, and then they're gonna be better than you too. So that's why you stop them. That is when nationalism, becomes the shitty, because they think they have divine providence over whatever is happening in other countries. Like we are, even though we're on top of the U.S., we're still under the U.S. umbrella. We are, and the rest of Latin America is. Maybe they're rebelling, Venezuela, Cuba, all of them are, but they still are under their influence in one way or the other. Venezuela or Cuba, they are under their influence through, war and stuff, and sanctions and all. They still are. Even though they're resisting, they still are under the US influence. Even Pakistan is. Pakistan is the worst example of a Muslim country at the moment. It literally is.
What makes you say that?
We were made in the name of Islam. We only came into being because we were Muslims as a country. So there is no national kind of idea of Pakistan. We're not a nation. We are a religion based, a community trying to practice their religion, because we thought we wouldn't be so free to practice that if we were under the Hindu rule in India. That is the only reason why we made this country. So when a Pakistani says Pakistan, we are Pakistanis. No, you're Muslim. That's why you're in existence. Had it not been Muslim, you wouldn't have gotten Pakistan. You were not a nation. I come from a Hindu ancestor. I have friends, they come from Arab ancestors, Iranian ancestors, Turks, Afghans, all of these Kurds. We're like a mixed salad of ethnicities of different part of the world, and we have different facial features, obviously, in Pakistan too. We're not really Indian like. Why? Because we are a country that these foreign invaders came in, they invaded India, and then they wanted not to be a part of it, sort of. They didn't want to be ruled by the people they had ruled, so they were like, okay, let's make another country. Obviously, it's a good idea, but we're the worst example of a nation and a country at the moment, because we let go of the reason we came into being. Pakistan was a reason to unite Muslims. When every nation, ethnicity was trying to carve up their own ancestral land into their own kind of identity. Because if you're a Muslim, you do not stay Chinese then anymore. You do not stay Arab or Turk or African or Indian. You have become a Muslim. You have become a part of this religious, political way of life. That is what you should be then working for. When the Ottoman Empire, this Ottoman Caliphate, came down, Muslims of Pakistan thought that, obviously now Pakistani politicians can name it as however they want, but obviously they're just manipulating the idea of Pakistan. But they only came into being so that Muslims could be free of these nationalistic kind of, and it was kind of like the idea that once again we'll be able to unite all these Muslim countries. We'll rid ourselves of being Turk and Arab and Iranian and Egyptian, Syrian. What is Syria? What is Iraq? What is Jordan? What is Lebanon? What is it?
What is it to you?
A British made mess. Yeah. The blues, the what was it called, the alliance during the World War II? No, the first one. There was the Triple Entente, and there were, I think, the Central Alliance, something of that sort. But they were blue. I know that for sure. They were blue. They They carved these lands up. Why? Because they were attracted to them. So France came into being, came into Lebanon and all these countries. How do you guys have a different nationalistic value than any other Arab in the world? How? You're not Christians. Had it been Christians of Syria, then sure, they have a different culture. They were Byzantines mostly. But you're not Christian, you're Muslim. Then you're most likely Arab. Then how are you any different than Saudis? How are you any different than Iraqis or Jordanians or Palestinians or Lebanese or Kurds? How are you any different from them? No, Kurds is actually like a different. They have their own ethnicity. But any Arab in the sphere of the Fertile Crescent, how are you any different from them? So then, what? How do you make a country then? Like Saudis, how do they get to own the religious sites of all Muslims? How do they get to own it? No one gets to own it. It belongs to God and his prophet. That's it. It does not belong to humans then. And what are you doing? You're kind of manipulating people and then making this huge empire through collecting taxes and stuff. How can you tax a worshipper? Like, this is why I don't believe in these Muslim countries that are in existence right now. I believe we're Muslims. We submitted to God's will, even by just our tongue. Our actions are like, my actions might not speak for it, but I have said it. The idea is there. What we need to do is we need to unite once again, so that even though I can right now not help, if I'm in Pakistan, I cannot help someone in India at the moment. But when we are united and we have solved our problems, we can go out and then not invade them. Literally not, but then, then it would be the same as the US. What we could do is give them ideas. Like, try to make people understand that there is a universal kind of understanding of rights of humans.
That was the original Chinese idea. Are you familiar?
Yeah, but they said they kind of isolated themselves.
The Chinese.
Yeah. To them, the whole world was those six nations, 6 states. Like the Qin.
Not really 6. No, well, yeah, that was during the Qing. But I was saying,
Qin.
really, when Chinese culture became more developed during the Tang and the Song dynasties. Yeah, the idea was like, how other countries started becoming Chinese, or not even Chinese character, Han character using countries, right?
You see, we should let go of these terms.
Yeah, it's very weird, right?
Let's go to being humans, man. Let's go to how we started. What was Adam's ethnicity?
Who cares?
No, people do care, actually. They do care. But apparently he traveled all around the world. So what was his ethnicity?
He had kids with every different ethnicity. Yeah.
No.
Oh, that was Abraham.
That was Abraham? No, that was Noah, I think.
Noah had kids with every...
No, they had their own children reproducing at a extremely good rate. Yeah. But, so what was Adam's ethnicity? He was a human, for God's sake. What was Eve's ethnicity? She was a human, the first humans. Then how did we become into these little, pickpockets of nations? You can literally pick people up from, like, comprising on what idea of ethnicity they believe in. So why not just go back to the idea of being human?
But everybody really agree we're all human. It's upon the fact that we're human, there's still so many differences.
Why? Humans, man, all we need to do is understand our bodies. The facial features and the way we eat, the way we dress is according to the climate we live in. See, I'm wearing these things,
But also has a cultural background.
but why did that come into being? Because of the climate. We started doing things. Why? Because that was best suited for what was it like to be living on mountains or the desert or the grasslands. So me wearing this, I wouldn't be able to wear this in Pakistan. It's too hot there. What I would wear is something really light, like shalwar kameez, something really open. But I cannot wear that in Canada because it's really cold in here. I wouldn't be warm. That's the bestest of examples you could get of how we are shaped by our climate. It doesn't change the fact of us being human. I might eat something different. I do. I eat different things in Pakistan. I come to Canada, I eat bland salmon. In Pakistan, I'd be eating something more, flavorful and all that. That's suited the spices. They're suited for the climate I'm living in Pakistan. I come to Canada, I do not need that many spices and oils and all that. I don't need those vast quantities of food and high calories. So if I'm in Canada, I'm living by how I can survive here. If I was eating the same thing as I was eating in Pakistan in the same kind of amount or whatever, I am still eating, but I'm not taking the same calories in. I'd be really fat by now
How come that's not the case when you're in Pakistan?
because the climate is much harsher there.
So you
So
sweat it out more?
yeah, literally, I cannot do
Okay.
that here. So what I do, I eat little. I eat by what the season provides me. That's the only difference in
People
region.
want to eat different things, People want to eat.
Yeah, go ahead. I do it. I eat Chinese food even though it's not needed in Canada.
Hmm.
I eat it, obviously. Why? Because new things. I want to try new things. I want to try different people, different cultures, right? But different cultures, that does not mean I'm any different from them in terms of being a human.
That's right. That's right.
The idea then comes back to my idea that the conclusion for the idea is let's we should take into account cultures and stuff. Why? Because that's the climate we live in. It's really about the climate. That's how we started. Like the Assyrians and all those the first cities, they came into being, and they had every city had different kind of beverage or whatever things they were eating or building houses with. Why? Because that was best suited for their climate. That was the only difference. Like the beer being drunk in one city was different from the one up north. Why? Because the climate was different. This one was more close to the water, and this was farther away from the water. That is the only difference. They were not different humans, though. They had the same blood running through them.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the same blood, though. Even the same ancestors. Adam and Eve, that's it. Or Noah.
But how can you prove that we have the same ancestors?
How can you not prove it?
Can you use
How
science?
can you say that we do not come from the...
Eventually.
Eventually we do. That is where I'm trying to get at.
I think people
Let's
understand that,
not
but they
go...
get trapped in their own daily life. They get trapped in like work.
That is exactly...
They have school to worry about. They have society.
Exactly what we need to kind of work on. That is why I'm not proposing a change at the moment. I'm not proposing a change.
But you are you are evoking an idea.
I am. I'm invoking an idea. Sure am. But I'm not proposing that we change the world right now.
But then people will just keep suffering if you don't.
No,
change.
people. That's part of the process. Afghanis were fighting a civil war. That was part of the process to get the best out of them, for what is best for them.
But not every civil war, not every war is it's determination. Sometimes what is supposedly
There's
your
always
idea.
one party that is striving for change in it, that is striving for better.
But they don't always win. Sometimes the tyrant wins.
In most cases they do win, but the first person to lead does really good sometimes, most of the times. But then the ones who come after them, they kind of divert from the idea. That Taliban, let's talk about them. The
Before
hard
we get into that,
the
I just
hard
want to use the washroom real quick.
yeah, sure.
I'll be right back. But we're talking about the Taliban. Yeah.
Taliban. What an interesting story, actually.
What about Taliban?
So, people just think they're a terrorist group. I've talked to you about this before. People just think they're a terrorist group. They want to destroy America. They want to destroy the West, and that's it. They want to destroy liberal values.
Okay. Is that so interesting?
That is not the truth. Do you know what Taliban means? Students. Taliban means students in many of the languages of the East, many of the Muslim kind of countries and their thing. Taliban means students. These were students of a guy called Mullah Omar, and he was during this fighting of the warlords after during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. There were warlords with their personal militias, and they were fighting over, Afghanistan with each other. Like they were fighting each other, and these Talibans were of the common people, and they wanted to change all of this. And Mullah Omar was their teacher, and they started going out, fighting against all of these, all of the odds, literally, the Soviets, all the other warlords, for a better Afghanistan.
How does Bin Laden plays into the Taliban?
It's very simple, that one. It's very simple. Bin Laden was trained by the US. He was asked by the US to help the Taliban against the Soviets. He was a rich businessman. His family still lives there. Abdullah and his brother Muhammad, they would tell you about this. They were rich uh, businessmen, and they still are. His family still is in construction. Do you know what he helped them with? The Taliban? With the tunnels and all that during the war, with his machinery. The Americans were like, this is jihad, fighting for God. You come here, you fight for them. Obviously, it had the religious sentiment to it. He goes there by the Americans' order, and then he likes the idea. He understands that they're fighting for freedom. He understands it, and he commits to it. Okay. They defeat the Soviets. Pakistan was a part of it. Pakistan used to supply these Taliban and all these guys with weapons coming from the US and all the Western countries. We were all friends, buddies. And then when the Taliban get the country, now the US wants in on the resources. It wasn't about liberation, or they were expecting an attack. A country with no literally standing army. Taliban were not a standing army. They were freedom fighters. With no technology, no nothing of that sort, no weaponry. They did not have the jets to, arrive to the US, the Taliban. What they were doing was best for their country. They wanted to live a peaceful, happy, free life. The US wants in on the resources. Like, share with us, but mostly the US is like, give it to us. Don't share it with us. Give it to us. You guys are you don't know the value of this. We know it. Let us use it. So be hostage to us. Be a client state. Obviously, they had just gone through the civil war with determination for freedom. How could they go down to these people again? The people with the same skin tone, let's say that, in the current system, if we're not going by humans. People with the same skin tone, different religion, but the same religion on top, Christians. Well, then, Taliban are like, we're not going to do it. The US, then, most of the Muslim countries do think the Taliban are not bad. We might not say it, but in heart, we do know that they're not bad. They're doing what's best for the country. Osama bin Laden, he liked the Taliban kind of, the idea, their idea, the determination. So he wants to stay. Obviously, he was a wealthy man. He could have, done many things. The 9/11 attacks, a very bad thing, a tragedy. But I don't think they have been able to prove really certainly about all the people they have killed. They haven't been really able to prove that these people were the ones that caused this. These people were the ones who were in the Afghan jihad. The US trained all of these people. And these people were the ones resisting the US approach in Afghanistan. So then they make this as an objective, that these people are a threat to the US, so they attack Afghanistan. And the Afghan people, the Taliban fight. They say the current Afghan government, it was really powerful. Not the current one, the one before the Taliban, just recently. They were really powerful. Ashraf Ghani and those guys, they only had control of like some 40% or 30%, 35% of the country around Kabul, and that's it. Everything else was still under the Taliban control. But the media was like, no, the Taliban are just limited to the mountains. It's like the Spanish, Reconquista is going on. No, that wasn't the case. The Taliban were really a reality. They still are. They were never irrelevant. And then you try to give liberal and secular values to a nation which is not strong enough, and there's an enemy outside waiting for them, like a different ideology. I wouldn't say enemy, a different ideology. The Afghan people the government, the Ashraf Ghani government, they were not prepared to fight at all. They might have the best of the weaponry and all that, but they were not ready. In their heart, they were not ready to fight. The Taliban, they were never irrelevant. They were still in power. They had the numbers. They come in, they storm the thing, and they again come into power. How does the US have anything to do with this? Like, why would they be there? The Taliban never once conducted an attack in the US.
What about 9/11?
It wasn't the Taliban. It was Al Qaeda. If we go by the US narrative,
Oh, what's the Al Qaeda then?
they only attacked Afghanistan because they said that Al Qaeda was in Afghanistan.
But what's Al Qaeda?
That Al Qaeda was the organization Osama bin Laden founded. The organization the US helped him found.
What is that organization about?
It's about well, if we go by the Western narrative, jihad, Muslims killing non-Muslims. Al Qaeda really was just like Osama bin Laden's, the idea of like freedom for, he must have done bad things. I'm not saying he didn't. He was no prophet or God. He wasn't a saint either. He must have done bad things. My point is, what led these people to doing these, even if they have not been able to prove so many things at the moment. They haven't been able to. The Iraq War, they could not prove why they did it. Weapons of mass destruction, they never found that. Libya, you attack them for freedom. It's in the worst situation possible right now. It was far better under Colonel Gaddafi. He was good for his country. I believe so. Someone might come, oh, you support a tyrant. No, I don't care. He was good for his people. For his own Libyans, he was good.
That comes back to the idea of nationalism, right?
It does.
Good for
I'm not
Libyans,
talking about my
for
idea at the
Americans.
moment. I'm not talking about my idea at the moment. I'm talking about the current system biting each other off.
Is that just nature?
Is that nature?
Like, that's just gonna happen. Like, cause
No.
human...
See, then my idea becomes idealistic.
How so?
How so? That I say this is not by nature. We have been groomed, and our what do you say? We have made these ideas a reality. We have made this the presumed like what ought to be the thing, which is not. Why is like why might someone think that it's nature? Because it's been happening for so many times, so for such a long time. Like the whole history is filled with it. Imagine that wasn't the case, and the idea I think that see everyone as human and not Christian.
So you're trying to bring humanity back before the Great Flood.
The Great Flood. Well, we believe it's gonna be a fire. Like the sun is gonna be like really close to the earth and all that.
Just be like a fire.
It's destruction.
Destruction.
In simple words, it's destruction.
What's going to remain?
Nothing. We are Muslims. We believe that we're gonna die and then we're gonna be resurrected on the day of judgment, and we're gonna be questioned on good and bad that we committed in the world. And I mean in the world, I mean to people. There has to be, we have to answer at some point in our life. And when we die, our life does not end. We're just sleeping until the day comes. This deep slumber. I think we're still sleeping right now. We're living, but we're living a dream. This is not the life.
Living a dream.
Yeah, exactly. This is not the life, though. We're gonna wake up from this slumber, and then that's gonna be the real life. And God's gonna ask you, What did you do in your dream? Well, that's to me. People can disagree. They do disagree. But to me, I think we're just sleeping at the moment. When we're gonna die, that's when we're gonna wake
That's
up.
a very Buddhistic idea. It's very
Be,
Eastern.
be. I'm from the East, man. I'm from the East.
Whatever, brother.
But be it whatever it
I'm
is,
Chinese, brother.
I'm human.
I'm mere human.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm only
So
human.
so my idea is going back to what we should have been. We were at some point that.
But okay, then it comes to like the idea of myth. Just like you said, there's one of the person that you were talking about who treats myth and religion as just nonsense.
Right.
Right? There's people like
No.
that.
He doesn't treat myth and religion as nonsense. He just hates other groups. And in that
But
process,
hate is very real.
then
and very much
it
exists.
It is. It
And
is.
it's very dangerous.
It
Very
is.
destructive.
It is part of the system.
The system teaches you
And
to hate.
I'm not talking about the system after the Second World War.
Okay.
I'm talking about the system of our ancestors, what they have been doing.
It comes from hate, you think?
Yeah, it comes from division. You have started to give names to everything.
Name.
You have made someone living in that part of the world Chinese.
Right. China was as the current nationalistic term wasn't really a thing until really after the Qing dynasty is about to end.
Exactly.
It was more this dynasty who control all of Earth,
Exactly. So even the like the Middle East, it really didn't matter. There were tribes before, obviously. It only became this Arab kind of nationalism when all these tribes came together. It was like Banu Hashim, and they were Quraysh and all
People
those
just
tribes.
need more love. Then.
People need more love, and
Do you think
people don't need to understand other religions or concepts or cultures. People need to understand other humans. Because if we are understanding other religions and concepts and cultures, we're only still invoking division.
you're just an observer? You're not really
we're,
feeling.
we're saying, oh yeah, well that exists. We are acknowledging the difference.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
We shouldn't acknowledge the difference. What we should say is there is no difference between me and Darren apart from the climate he has lived in.
Oh man, Toronto's so cold, guys.
So we're humans at the end of the day. Like in Islam, we say we came from mud and we're gonna go back to it. We came from earth and we're gonna go back to it. And we're gonna be brought up once again, and then there's gonna be this forever, endless life.
It's like an anime.
It is.
It's like an anime.
Yeah. I used to think I still think that this world is a game. That God God is playing a game and he has these rules set.
But what is a game? Games are just
A
series
simulation.
of choices.
A
A
simulation.
simulation is still a series of choices exercised.
So I was getting to the point now. There are rules in this game. Okay. One can say I don't believe in God. Okay, you can say that. That doesn't mean God doesn't exist. You can say I don't believe in these rules. Doesn't mean they don't exist. They do exist, regardless of you believing in it or not. Just like I do not believe in the Western, the supremacy and all that, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does exist. That is why I've acknowledged it and I want to go against it. What I want to bring back is humanity. So when God has given these rules, no matter if you recognize them or acknowledge them or say, yeah, they do exist or they don't, doesn't matter, they do, regardless. So God has given you this choice. You have to take that choice. You can't make your own rules on someone else's board game. like on a chessboard. You cannot change those rules. They're there. It's up to you if you're gonna win in it during, like, under those rules or not.
I think, in a way,
But then it has a twist, no? There's punishment at the end. There's a reward.
but who gets to punish who?
God, the one who created us. God is not a human. This is the problem in our society at the moment. We take God really, really easily. We don't take him seriously. And that is,
think of him as like
and
the
that is,
emperor above.
I think he's overlord. He is Lord of Lords. And I don't mean lords as I mean these other demigods. No. There are kings on this world. There are people who rule. Then their ruler is... To him, everyone's
If we live
equal.
in a democracy, how come there can still be a lord?
Democracy for us, humans. We cannot give this idea to God.
But this idea comes from God.
It comes from God for our benefit. We cannot give any benefit to God.
So we can contribute towards God?
To our contribution to God is make life better for Daud, making life better for Dar, and Dar making life better for Daud. That is contribution to God's creation, ultimately contribution to God.
But like, what make life better in what sense then? Then in that sense, then collusion can be a contribution to God.
How?
I give you money, make your life better. You give me money, make my life better.
Easy.
On the
But
cost of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
On the cost of suffering.
On the cost of... Here's the thing. Britain and America on good terms. Doing, all the trade on the cost of what? Putting sanctions on Russia. Americans doing good with India on the cost of what? Putting sanctions on China.
So it's...
What we need to do right now, and I think it's high time we start thinking about... I'm not saying we change it. We start thinking about it. That I should see a Chinese man, same as me, in the essence of humanity, in the idea of humanity. A Chinese man is the same as me, a white man is the same as me, an Indian is the same as me. It's just that our climate is different. That is why we look different.
But now you get to travel and fly and go to all climates.
Yeah, exactly. So my next generation, if it's born in China, like maybe like 5 or 6 generations later, perhaps.
Yeah. Did you know that the Sassanian
They
Empire,
did.
all the royal family went to China?
Yeah.
And became like high governors, officials.
Exactly, they did.
They
had the titles of kings and all that.
Yeah.
So that is literally like the climate you adopt. The climate, you adapt by it. You adopt it and adapt.
Kind of like the Jewish folks in Kaifeng in China. They all look Chinese, but they're still Jewish.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So religion, in that sense, can make us come together. For Muslims, it is. If there is a Bengali Muslim and Pakistani Muslim, if it comes to Islam, we're like this. If it comes to Bangladesh and Pakistan, then we're like this. If it comes to Islam, we're like this.
But what about for non-Muslim people?
For non-Muslim people?
Can there be acceptance?
Well, there's humanity.
Then is it okay?
I'm giving you an example of my personal belief, which is I am united to another Muslim through Islam.
But
I'm united to more importantly, we should be united by humanity. And humanity's point should be to not belittle the one who created us and believe in the one who created us and believe that he is true. He's the truth. And he's there.
But you see, it's very hard, right? Even when you say God is not a human, but you still use the pronoun he.
Like, well, obviously, because I've been conditioned.
He, she.
I have been conditioned to, to say things like that. I hope at one point, during this journey of mine. I want to die by the life of 80. I've said that to everyone. And not a day more. 80 and that's it. Like, take me. Take me, God, by the life when I turn 80. By that time, I should have, made enough of these ideas, clear to everyone. I should have made them clear to everyone so that people can hold on to them and bring in more ideas. Don't just hold on to mine, because then mine might become a man-made religion again, or a cult, or a ideology. Bring in more ideas for the betterment of people.
What do you think about Scientology?
Scientology. A tough subject, actually. What do you think about it?
It's a nice science fiction story. It's creative. It's a creative science fiction story that is that under the capitalistic system can become an official religion through lobbying and through legislations.
Yeah.
Which then implies and shadows and shows
You're making something only God can.
Of doing that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're making something only God can. It's like being arrogant in front of God. Muslims, and this is for all humans, Islam, I believe, is a universal religion. It does no harm to anyone. No religion does. Islam doesn't do any harm. Our idea is that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the final messenger. He completed the message from God. It was incomplete until Jesus was here. When Prophet Muhammad came, he enforced these things, and he was like, I'm sealing this, and this is it. Like, the message is completed. You guys have been given the rules. Now you're going to play this game either by these rules, or you're not going to play by these rules. The choice is yours. You are given a choice. But do know that if you don't go by the right choice, and you know what the right choice is, through learning, through discussing, through studying these things, you can know what the right choice is. To me, the right choice is doing no harm to other people.
Yeah, it's like the Taoist, the Tao is, Tao just means a pathway, right? There's every pathway for everybody.
So when you're making, these man-made religions and ideas, you're literally actually challenging God in a sense. But you see, I can do it too.
In a way that, like, even with the prophets, especially in the Abrahamic religions, it wasn't trying to start nobody tried to start a religion.
They were already there.
They're just trying to, in a way, preach.
Yes.
For the sake of,
exactly.
For the sake of just being.
Exactly.
Not for the sake of preaching.
And the idea is that Prophet Muhammad being the last prophet is because God in his divine, providence thinks that I have given them enough word of mine. Like, I've given them enough instructions. And if we say instructions in the worldly sense, then obviously no man can give instructions to another man, or a woman to another woman, man to woman, and all that. But we're talking about God here. We're not talking about a human. We cannot conceive what God is like.
That's very Gnostic of you,
How?
Gnosticism.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Greek word Gnosticism. That's very Gnostic in the sense of very early Christians. Early Christians will really agree with you. But I guess maybe your past life, you were a
past life. You see, that idea is a never-ending saga. Actually, that is a never-ending saga. I don't believe in it though, but it's entertaining. I wish it was. It was true. I wish it was. It might be. We don't know. We cannot prove it. The idea is there, yes. We cannot prove it. That is for sure. We cannot prove it. Can you?
People do remember these Tibetan monks, and also monks across China, Japan, Korea.
I know what you're talking about. The lamas and all those.
Yeah.
They remember it.
A lot of people remember. Even children, there's cases where children remember
Were chosen
when
to
they
be
were.
Dalai Lamas.
No, they're just random cases across all parts of the world
See,
where
here's the
children
thing.
just
Here's the
remember what
thing.
happened in the
Here,
previous life.
let me
And
tell
they
you
go
this.
find it out and they're like, oh my God, that's
Oh
exactly
my
what happened.
God! I was taught in these. I was taught these things. I was taught to believe these things, and now, yes, I am.
No. I'm saying like if a child, this is a case example where children tell his mom that he was murdered in his previous life, and then they go figure, and then nobody finds the body, nobody finds the killer, and then the mom goes. Eventually, they go to that very far place, and they find everything. And they find everything, and the guy and the children tell the police about everything that happens, and then eventually the whole case becomes it was all over the news. It was somewhere, I believe it was in Europe. A lot of these cases just happen across the world. Very like science cannot prove these things, but we can neither disprove these things.
Exactly.
Because
That's the
science is just
case with
catching up.
religion too. Then I'm really open to new ideas. No one in my family is. No one in my friends circle, like who I grew up with, is. We are, they are really, and I come from those ideas. I come from that background. I understand. I believe in those too. But I am open to new information. And only why I think of this way of the world. The idea of knowing something has happened before as well. I used to think I was like some magician or a wizard of some sort. Like I get these revelations from God. Not revelations, but I used to think that this is the case. Why? Because sometimes something would happen, and I would think, oh, this has happened before too. But it's just my mind telling me things. It's not that I'm stupid.
But what does your mind telling you things even mean?
Exactly, we don't have an answer to
Like,
that.
can you scientifically give
So
me that definition?
when a thing is in that sense, then are told like, oh well, I think this happened in my past life, and I really believe that this happened. What that does is you're gonna think about it, you're gonna try to prove it, and then you're gonna become certain of it. Obviously, that is the truth, but we don't really know if that's the truth or not.
I know. For those cases, I'm not talking. I'm just talking about like in some cases,
Yeah.
like especially for like a Buddhistic monk when they're meditating, or for like an infant or like a child who has no, like a 2-year-old child just talking these things out of thin air, and then eventually having most in some cases having these things being proven, which is very bizarre to me.
It is bizarre.
Yeah.
We don't know how they're like how
Have you
how
heard
did
of
that happen?
Edgar Cayce?
No.
He was his he was his great. He was like how do I define Edgar Cayce?
You want to search them up?
Man, we would yeah. I like to search. Yeah, search them up. Search them up. See how Wikipedia defines him. He basically he would go into deep hypnosis, and then he would remember his past life, and he
Okay.
will talk to other folks, and then remember and get people to see their past life, and then he would know a person from far away. It's like things that science cannot explain, and he's like a seer,
Okay.
a seer.
Okay. Okay.
But it's very a lot of crazy things happen.
To him?
No, like
Around him?
around him and to him, and like there's a lot of things. I don't know if we should go into it today, just because it's a completely, but it's
It's a
cool.
different subject.
But still, no, it's fine. I feel like we just go into whatever we feel like it.
Let's what about past lives? I'm really traditional about it. I'm very traditional
Traditional in what sense?
in Islamic sense.
Okay.
We were born. We only get one life. We die. We don't really die.
Let's get
It's
very
a
philosophical into it.
and it's a continuation of life. We had our ancestors before, and in the Quran it says, because when people did not believe resurrection again, Allah said, do they think that I have once made them already do they think in my terms, do they think that I have lost the uh, the ways to do that again? Like, do they think I have forgotten how to do that again, how to make them come back to life? So there were some people who were like, oh, what is this, atheist? Like, my the guy I was talking about, who doesn't believe in these things, he was like, well, once you stop breathing, that's it. That's it. There's nothing more. And Allah, 1400 years ago, in the Quran, Allah says, do they think that even though they know I've made them once, they are in existence, do they think that cannot happen again?
Does that just mean reincarnation?
That means reincarnation, but that means in the Abrahamic religion, that's getting resurrected on the day of judgment. It's a whole different kind of of way of things. There might have been. See, this is where.
When is the day of judgment?
This is where I get the thing. Oh, there are prophecies about it. Like Prophet Muhammad told, like, this would be the case, this would be the case. Then
But I really think it'd be really cool to make all these religions and stories into anime.
it is cool, actually.
Like,
People would actually, our generation would like it more.
yeah, or
They'd be able to understand this more.
yeah, because it's the ethos
But we cannot
behind those
do
stories.
that in Muslim things. We cannot do it.
Not even through storytelling.
Storytelling, yes, sure.
But that is
that's
a
what
story.
that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, through words, but not through
Through words,
images.
exactly. We can see. This is the thing. We're making something only God can, in a certain
But
sense.
I feel like you're not understanding the Italian Renaissance idea of that art, that Greek idea of art. Like how the idea of art is really just.
It makes you understand things much better. That is
But,
true.
well, not just that, but it's also the aesthetics of it. It's geometry. When it comes down to painting and to drawing, and the geometry and the gradients of colors used. And it's artistry, its technique, and its artistry all contribute to the art. And then the more closer you get to God, the more soul is within that art. From the painter, from the one who made it, and that is
a great way of interpretation.
Not just a great way of interpretation,
relaying the message.
Yeah, because you're communicating. You gotta find ways to communicate to people much more efficiently.
Finding the truth.
Well, the truth is very subjective.
But there is a universal truth, though.
So
there has to be.
The universal truth is that ethos, or that logos. A message that you want to tell within whatever medium you're trying to do,
Politics.
Because technologies change.
It has
Right.
greatly. Oh, okay. This is really. Let's kind of come to a conclusion with this. With cultures and stuff. With my idea of people just being different because of the climate. So this person I was talking about, and I think I told you earlier too, he thinks Americans are better than the Chinese just because Chinese eat noodles and soup, and the Americans know how to eat bagel and steaks. And I lost it at the time. I was like, bro, what is going on? What is this world that we're living in? And he said, they're only becoming modern when they come to Canada or America, because this is where they learn how to eat these things and all that. I'm like, man, they eat these things here because that is what the climate asks them to do. It's not that they need those things really back home.
Well, it's more so because for us, Chinese food is very important of our culture.
For everyone, literally.
Because China has so many different ethnicities.
Yeah,
and every ethnicity, the food is different.
Each city has a different taste.
Exactly. Like, I'm from Chongqing.
Yeah.
Chongqing, where the hot pot city.
Yeah.
That's where the hot pot really originated. So you hear some spicy hot pot. And you see, that's completely different than somebody who maybe gonna eat in Fujian or in Shanghai or in like maybe up north.
Up north is way different than.
And then you go to Xinjiang, you go to the western side of China. Then it becomes like more Muslims
Middle
there.
Eastern.
So Middle Eastern halal
Yeah.
food,
Yeah.
barbecue,
Mm.
like halal barbecue, Xinjiang barbecue is like the thing
Like
everybody
treating
loves.
meat differently in a drive kind of
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah. So like food, when it comes to for Asians, food, we get to Canada,
Mm.
then it becomes like, oh, okay, we're trading cultures. We got to
Yeah.
taste the culture
Yeah.
of the Canadian
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
and to us, it's very beautiful.
It is.
Yeah.
But some people think we're doing that because we think their culture is better than our culture.
Well, that supremacy, I guess, it counts on like arrogance. You said,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
So, no, he said these people were primitive and they still are primitive. They're only being introduced to these good ways of life um, by coming to the West. I don't think I need to stress over it, but I think that is the attitude of many of the people, even if they don't say it. That might be the case for many of the people. I know some people personally that think like this. I know them. So
well, I just say the more you seek to know, the more open-minded you become, and the more information
yeah,
in the
yeah,
world open up to you.
yeah, that's
You know,
true. That is
for
true.
somebody like who's in that state of arrogance or in that state very close-mindedness, they live here, they were born here. They were. This is, I mean,
This is the
you
perfect
see
way
the
of life.
infrastructure's
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I don't want to say nothing. You know?
No, but here's the thing. They might think this part of the world is the most beautiful part. I go back to my village, I think that's the best part.
Yeah. It's like it's that attachment of home, but the
Attachment of our like human made idols. Things
that's
we take
okay.
pride in,
Mm-hmm.
which should not be taken pride in. Why? Because these
Exactly.
things are only necessary for the conditions of the climate we live in.
Exactly. It's like calling the geographies, the Eastern geography characters Chinese, then Japanese use it, Koreans use it,
Yeah,
Vietnamese
exactly.
people use it.
Exactly.
It's not just by any nation.
Pakistan, Urdu. It
No,
uses
it's Arabic.
Arabic
Yeah.
alphabet.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean like only Arabs can use it. I can use it too. I'm a Pakistan.
Yeah.
When I read
English, Latin.
Latin, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. You're not Roman.
Like Turks, like their current Turkish, they just because to modernize and stuff. Such a stupid idea. They started using English alphabets to write their language, Turkish. It's easier to understand. It's convenient. It's easier to understand. I don't think I would have been able to learn a bit of Turkish that I know if it was in whatever they used at the time, in the old times. So for convenience, we do anything, but that doesn't make us what we are really. At the end of the day, we're humans, and what we speak is not the the what we are really. It's just the way we have been brought up, the conditions we live in, the circumstances around us are why I'm talking like this of these things is because I have seen shit all around the world. Not personally right in front of me. Like media is a great thing. It does portray Muslims as bad, but it does show us many other things too. Well, Western media, I'm not saying the whole worldwide view. And I have seen all of these things. That is why I'm talking these things. I want to change them. And I have accepted the idea that a black man is no lower than me. We're on equal standing in front of Allah, in front of God. It's only if I have done something really good, and even I can't decide if it's
Shout out
something.
Martin Luther King.
So it is that idea which I believe in, and I think we will change it one day. I might not change it in my lifetime. I don't want to, because I think that's going to be then my idea. It should be humanity's idea. So generations upon generations should think of this, use this idea, and work towards a better life. It's not idealistic. It is going to happen. It is going to happen. I promise you it will. I'm going to write it down someday and as a question for the future generations to come. So they
Well,
will, and I know I'm going to be resurrected, and they'll tell me one day that, yeah, it did happen.
what do you want to tell your? What would you want to say to the future?
Don't be materialistic as we are. Be materialistic only to the sense to your own kind of comfort that is gonna make you live, in a sense. And you can have a bit of pleasure too for yourself. But think of the greater good, think of the collective good of people. Don't don't isolate yourself. I go down the corridor, I see humans coming my way. The Canadian way is, it really is not Canadian way, but it's just the, I know maybe 5 years back, 10 years back, they used to say hello to each other too. I know I see it today too, but mostly now we have just been so isolated in our own materialistic kind of lives that we say, well, this person is coming. I'm not gonna say hi to him because he might get offended. But in the Muslim thing, if a Muslim is coming, and I don't know what this is, if a Muslim is coming, no wonder what he's wearing, I might just know that he's a Muslim. And I'd say Assalamu alaikum. And they would be really happy and they'd say Wa alaikum assalam. We can do, and in Pakistan we can do it. In any Muslim country we can do it. Even here, if it's a Muslim, we can do it. I cannot really freely do it to someone else, like maybe a Chinese or a white man. Why? They might be happy with it, but I don't know that. The only way to know is to abolish these differences that we have made and be humans, and then see it as a right of humans to say hello to the next one and bring peace to them. Say, tell them, may you be blessed. That is the core of my idea. That is what I tell the future generations to come. I'm just 20 years old. Hopefully I have 60 more years to go.
Well, hopefully so.
Hopefully.
Hopefully live a long life.
Yeah.
And
Hey, it's
think
no life is long enough. To be honest, it is not long enough. The worldly life. But inshallah, one day we're gonna do great things. I want to talk about one more thing though.
yeah.
Just really, we were talking about it, history of God.
History of God. History of God. Wow.
God wanting to know of himself. I did not understand that. Could you please? I did understand it. I think it's a terrible idea. You go ahead. It's a very Hinduism kind of idea.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I guess I'll ask you the question, what does it mean for consciousness to be conscious? Consciousness is, what is the degree of conscious that is necessary?
For me, and people might call me like a blind believer in God. But I think we Muslims do think we are servants of God. And we have surrendered our will, man, to God. We are. We might not be doing everything by the book, but we have, even by name, we have by words. When it comes to talking about these things, God being conscious of his own being, and in that book then he makes 11 others of his extensions, and they go and learn what the thing is. Well, that means the world already existed. Everything existed. And in the book it also says that everything is non-existent until they become conscious of their existence. These are clear words. Well, does that mean there might be something coming again, according to the book, that book, that might claim to be God again? Well, then, what is this world we're living in?
Nirvana. But let's get into the book next time. I gotta get going.
Yeah.
But it's very grateful to have you here today, you know.
No, it
And
was actually great
thank you
to
so much.
to show my
Thank you.
ideas more in depth.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very. I get to know a lot
We
of
haven't talked about these things so much.
to this
Like,
extent.
yeah, to this extent, no.
But to really see it, from your heart, I can tell you
Yeah.
really mean it, man.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, I do. I'm gonna fight for it.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
hopefully, good luck, Daud. There you have it,
Mm-hmm.
Daud the human, guys.
The human, yes. the
Signing off
human.
right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Sheesh.
Nice. How long did we went for?